guys, and welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, my name is Mackenzie Meadows now. Come here, Binks. This is my puppy Binks. You better be good while I record. Sit. So I figured that I would do a little get to know me before we jump right into all the vlogs and stuff, just so you guys feel like you guys know a little bit more about me. So on my Instagram, I put a little question box and I had you guys ask me questions. So now I'm just gonna go through and answer them. Some of them are juicy, some of them are not, but it'll be fun. Just a little background about me before we jump straight into the questions. I am the oldest of 6. I grew up in Ohio. I moved to Florida after I graduated college from Ohio State. Lived there for 2 years. You brought a tennis ball? I'm recording. Go get your ball. I wish y'all could see him right now. He's playing with the tennis ball. So throughout this questionnaire process, we'll tell you a little bit about things that I have in store for 2025. Let's just jump right into it. I screenshotted a bunch of, I don't even know if you guys can see it, but I screenshotted a bunch of questions off of the Instagram questionnaire. It says, what initially made you move to Florida years ago? I always knew that I wanted to move out of Ohio. I never really thought I was going to be able to do it just because my family was in Ohio and they're my favorite people in the entire world. But something in me just really told me that I needed to move to Florida after I graduated. At this point, I had started to reconnect again with my relationship with Jesus, so I was kind of wanting a fresh start anyways, and just I was willing to go wherever he wanted me to go. At this point, I didn't really know what that entailed. So obviously I had social media at this point. I actually met a girl, this is the shortened version. I met a girl through social media that I had been DMing and talking to. I knew she lived in Florida and I was just asking her about places to move in Florida and what her recommendations would be. She grew up in Florida her whole life. She lived in Jacksonville actually, and that was not on my radar at all. I actually wanted to move to St. Pete and Tampa area, but she was like, yeah, I love Jacksonville. It's super underrated, super cute beach town. I had never even been to Jacksonville, so I had no idea. And then, literally, no idea why she did this, but she invited me to her birthday party. Unlike me, decided I was gonna go. My mom was like, you have to go. And I'm like, okay. So I went and I met the most amazing girls at her birthday party and just felt like this was my new home. So I just picked up, so this was May of 2022 and I was graduating college. And so I went to her birthday party right after the spring semester and of my senior year. And then I after her birthday party, picked up everything and moved there within a month. Dropped everything that I had in Ohio and moved there. I got a 2-bedroom because I was trying to convince Morgan to come with me and it worked. She didn't go to college and she came and moved in with me in August. That's what really made me move there. It wasn't a lot of anything, but best decision I've ever made in my life. Second question is how you got into content creating in 2020. During COVID, honestly before 2020, I would say end of 2019, I was really kind of joking on TikTok. My college roommates would just make really funny, goofy videos on there, and literally nothing serious at all. And I'll never forget going into 2020, I posted my first cringy but kind of serious video, and I remember I just put my phone down and I went and laid in bed, and my one roommate started freaking out. She's like, Mackenzie, your video has 50,000 views, and I was like, what? And then I remember we just sat in my bed and we just watched it skyrocket. Mind you, the video itself was not anything crazy. Honestly, people were fighting in the comments, not about me, but just about the video. I was kind of boosting the algorithm. I went from no followers to 50,000 followers, I think, very fast. And then from there, I kind of got into routine of making videos and posting it. Honestly, it was really just for fun in the beginning. The summer of 2020 came during COVID, throughout the entire time frame of when we were stuck in our house for COVID. Me and my siblings just made a bunch of videos, and those videos all did really well. So I gained a following through quarantine with my siblings and just hair videos, all that, just random stuff. And so then I got my first brand deal in the summer of 2020, and it was not much of anything, but then I realized I could actually make money from this, and it was something that I really enjoyed doing. I loved videoing, even growing up before any of this was a thing. Me and my friends would always just video ourselves and do that type of stuff. So, and I always said that I would love to do this for a living, and obviously here I am. So that's kind of how I got into content creating, which is awesome, and I love it so much. Will you ever move back to Ohio at any time in your life? Probably not, unless the Lord calls me back there. I don't think that I will ever go back there. There's nothing really there for me, and I know once my family moves out of there, which I know they will, probably after my sisters graduate high school. Someone asked if I have a job. If so, what is it? This is my job, full-time content creation. I just don't see myself ever moving back there. Someone asked for my testimony. I'm actually gonna share something with you guys. So last year, I really had a urge to start something for women who like want to build community and relationships inside their cities. And moving to Jacksonville, it was really hard, honestly, to find community. And once I did, it was absolutely life-changing. Like, my friends and who I surrounded myself with changed my life completely. That was like a really big tug on my heart to do something to help girls do that. And last year, obviously, I bought a house, got engaged, got married. So it got really crazy for me. But this year, I'm praying that there's more opportunities available for me to help coordinate events and do that type of stuff. For Fruit of the Spirit is what it's called. Also, I'm starting a podcast kind of off of Fruit of the Spirit. This is like the first time I've announced it. I'm putting this in there just so you guys are aware of it, but it's called Bearing Fruit, and we're actually working on a completely new rebrand with one of my friends who's a digital marketer. So whenever that's done, we will get that out. So basically the podcast is going to be called Bearing Fruit, and I'm going to go through all the different fruits and just like important things that I've learned walking with the Lord the last 2 to 3 years, just with, you know, community and relationships with people and how to be disciplined. And so that'll be really fun. I'm going to have guests come on and speak. You probably know some of the guests. I've already asked some people to come on. So I'm really hopeful of what this is going to turn into. I'm hoping that we have more Fruit of the Spirit events, and that I'm praying that more opportunities arise for me to pour into women in different cities to help build community. Really special to my heart, and my life changed when I found good community. So I guess going back to the testimony thing, my first episode of my podcast, which hopefully will be out end of January, I'll be going over my testimony. Probably going to start a separate YouTube channel for the podcast, and it'll obviously be on Spotify too. Do you get on well with your siblings? Yes. There's very rarely a time where we fight, and if we do argue or bigger about anything, it probably won't last more than 5 minutes. We have like such a strong relationship, all of us. It's gotten hard now that we don't all live like in the same house and stuff, but I think that makes it even more sweet, because when we are together, like, why would we want to fight and waste our time? We might as well just like hang out and have fun and love on each other. So it's definitely, now that we've gotten older, when we were younger, we would bicker a lot more just because we were little and didn't know. But now that we're older, we have a really special bond that is really sweet. How did you and DR meet? So we'll be doing like a full video on this, but long story short, he followed me on TikTok a couple years ago, probably. He says it was like 3 or 4 years ago. I doubt that. But the summer of 2023, my mom showed me so he plays on the Savannah Bananas, if y'all don't know that. And so they were playing in Akron. My mom was like, oh, this like fun baseball team's coming to play in Akron, which is where my family lives. And I was like, I don't really want to go. I didn't know anything about the Savannah Bananas at this point, and I thought they were a minor league team. So I was like, I'm not gonna go watch them play. And she showed me a video that went viral of DR, and I was like, oh, he's kind of cute. Like, didn't say anything to my mom, because my mom would take like something and run with it. So I just like went to my lonesome and looked him up, and he followed me on TikTok. So I followed him back, and then honestly it was like a month later, he reached out to me, asked me if I'd want to go to a game. I was like, sure, I'm in Ohio, like if you guys play in Ohio, like that would be ideal, because I didn't want to drive to Savannah. And he was like, yes. And then like 3 weeks later, like we talked for the full 3 weeks before he was supposed to play in Akron, and we just like really got to know each other, really started to like each other. And the night before his game, we went on a date, and that's that. We started dating like 4 days later. We've been together ever since. Engaged after a year and married 6 months later, 5 months later. There's like more to it that me and him will go deeper into on a different video. Your college experience. Start here. I didn't want to go to college at all. Had no interest in going to college. My 18-year-old brain was like, I have to go to college. I have to experience college. Like, blah, 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 blah. I didn't, but obviously everything happens for a reason, and I'm glad that I did, because I wouldn't probably be here now if I hadn't had gone to college. I went to Kent State for fashion. Right out of high school, I got into their fashion program, which shockingly, I don't really know how. It's like really high up in the United States in fashion, and I but I really liked clothes, and so I thought that would be like a really good major for me. I wanted to be more on the business side of it, but when you start in the fashion school, you actually have to take like design classes. So like I was spending like 12 hours a day designing clothes on my laptop and iPad, something that I was like super passionately interested in. Like one of my best friends still to this day, she was a double major in marketing and design, or merchandising and design in the fashion school at Kent, and her desire to do it versus mine, it was like very obvious that I was not called into being a fashion designer. My logical thinking was, if I'm not doing fashion at Kent, I don't want to be at Kent, because there was no purpose for me to really be there. The only reason why I went there was for fashion. Stuck it out, and I switched to advertising at Kent, and that was when I really fell in love with the whole like marketing idea. I think that really helped me. I don't know, there wasn't really much for me at Kent anymore, so my sophomore year I transferred to Ohio State. Like, I'm still friends with a lot of the girls that I went to Kent with. I just really wanted to experience college. I wanted like a football team. I wanted to be able to like go out with my friends and like have things to do, and that just wasn't at Kent. So I transferred to Ohio State. Yeah, I learned a lot. Some very interesting things. I actually joined the all-girl cheer team when I was there, when I first transferred there. Then COVID happened, so that was like really not fun. I got to make some friends through that. I made some good decisions, made some bad decisions. I went through a lot of, things there. College was not easy for me. From now looking back, I can tell a lot of things that needed to be worked on that I didn't really work on. I rediscovered my love for Jesus and got to dive into that my last year at Ohio State. I had people put into my life that maybe it wasn't them, but it was something that they brought into my life that was completely ordained by God. There was people that were brought into my life that changed my life. I got to continue to do TikTok. I got to start doing that full time. It was your normal, probably big school college experience. I know college can be a really hard time for girls and like boys too, but just like finding yourself and trying to find yourself in college and just doing what everyone else is doing can lead to some interesting choices. I walked away with a lot of lessons learned, and I'm a completely different person now. So, best thing about moving in your 20s, I would say that you have to grow up really fast. And especially when you move away from your family, you can call them up and ask them questions, but like my dad wasn't there to do anything physically for me. I had to learn how to do everything by myself. I feel now like my favorite thing about moving early in my 20s away from my family is I have learned so much. I feel confident in my ability to do things on my own, if that makes sense. I have younger siblings, so it's really hard to like be away from them. That's the hardest part. But I learned a lot, I've grown a lot, I've matured a lot. Like, I've done a lot of things, so I feel like moving forward, it's like set me up. How many kids do you want in the future? Ideally, I did want 4, but everyone's kind of like, just see how it goes, like have one and then play it by ear. I've always wanted a bigger family. Obviously, I'm one of 6, so that was like super big to me. Like super set on anything. But how did you know your man was the one? Again, I'm gonna make a video about this more because there was so much more that went into it. I was at a place in my life where I didn't really want a relationship at all. It was like the first time where I really was like content with not being in one and not having anyone, and I was really enjoying it. And he came in and I just felt immediate peace about the situation, and I had given it to the Lord completely. I surrendered that whole aspect of my life to him. So just trusting that if this was from the Lord, then it was going to be, and just being okay with whatever happened. But I did feel like an immense amount of peace, and we had conversations very early on in the beginning of our relationship of what we wanted to pursue and like what our priorities were, and Jesus was the center of it for both of us. And we got to grow together, and we had conversations about things that I'm so thankful that we had, because it really set our relationship up for success in that way. So I had good counsel and good people during that whole time, so I just knew. I also prayed really, really hard that the next relationship I got into, he would be my husband, and I wouldn't be just getting into another relationship just to date at that point. So yeah, I just knew. We can go into that more on a different thing. I'll probably do a relationship podcast with some people that we love dearly. So I'll get more into, I have a lot of stuff on here that like people are asking me tips about relationships and dating and stuff. So we'll probably get into that on the podcast, not right now. The last one I'm going to talk about, someone asked what our baby plans were. I guess that you guys are just going to have to follow to figure that out. Not going to share anything like that on here. But if you guys follow me and follow me on everything, you'll know. Okay, so those are some questions that you guys asked me on getting to know me, and this was really fun, and I'm like really inspired and excited to get back into YouTube more in 2025. So Thank you guys for watching. Subscribe. Go follow me on Instagram and TikTok. It's Mackenzie Meadows. I will have them in my bio on YouTube. So, love you guys. Have a blessed day.